Hey, 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 Laura J. here today with another replay of The Artist's Way from the Sacred Self-Compassion Services done in 2021. And now I am going to listen to them while I do some movement in the yard. I would love for that to be the example for you to move the body, the vessel your soul chose for this lifetime, for you to honor the way that I will be as I listen to myself read The Artist's Way and I move my body to honor myself, the temple my soul worships life in every day. And I am but a mirror to you as always. So I hope this does give you the inspiration to move your body too. Enjoy.
Week 11. This week we focus on our artistic autonomy. We examine the ongoing ways in which we must nurture and accept ourselves as artists. We explore the behaviors that can strengthen our spiritual base and therefore our creative power. We take a special look at the ways in which success must be handled in order that we not sabotage our freedom. Acceptance is where we begin. I am an artist. As an artist, I may need a different mix of stability and flow from other people. I may find that a 9-to-5 job steadies me and leaves me freer to create, or I may find that a 9-to-5 drains me of energy and leaves me unable to create. I must experiment with what works for me. An artist's cash flow is typically erratic. No law says we must be broke all the time, but the odds are good. We may be broke some of the time. Good work will sometimes not sell. People will buy, but not pay promptly. The market may be rotten even when the work is great. I cannot control these factors. Being true to the inner artist often results in work that sells, but not always. I have to free myself from determining my value and the value of my work by my work's market value. The idea that money validates my credibility is very hard to shake. If money determines real art, then Wagen was a charlatan. As an artist, I may never have a home that looks like Town and Country, or I may. On the other hand, I may have a book of poems, a song, a piece of performance art, a film. I must learn that as an artist, my credibility lies with me. God and my work, in other words, if I have a poem to write, I need to write that poem, whether it will sell or not. I need to create what wants to be created. I cannot plan a career to unfold in a sensible direction dictated by cash flow and marketing strategies. These things are fine, but too much attention to them can stifle this child within, who gets scared and angered when continually put off. Children, as we all know, do not deal well with later, not now. Since my artist is a child, the natural child within, I must make some concessions to its sense of timing. Some concessions do not mean total irresponsibility. What it means is letting the artist have quality time, knowing that if I let it do what it wants, it will cooperate with me in doing what I need to do. Sometimes I will write badly, draw badly, paint badly, perform badly. I have a right to do that to get to the other side. Creativity is its own reward. As an artist, I must be very careful to surround myself with people who nurture my artist, not people who try to overly domesticate it for my own good. Certain friendships will kick off my artistic imagination, and others will deaden it. I may be a good cook, a rotten housekeeper, and a strong artist. I am messy, disorganized, except as pertains to writing, a demon for creative detail, and not real interested in details like polished shoes and floors. To a large degree, my life is my art, and when it gets dull, so does my work. As an artist, I may poke into what other people think of as dead ends. A punk band that I mysteriously fall for, a piece of gospel music that hooks my inner ear, a piece of red silk I just like and add to a nice outfit, thereby ruining it. As an artist, I may frizz my hair or wear weird clothes. I may spend too much money on perfume in a pretty blue bottle, even though the perfume stinks because the bottle lets me write about Paris in the 30s. As an artist, I write, whether I think it's any good or not. I shoot movies other people may hate. I sketch bad sketches to say, I was in this room, I was happy, it was May, and I was meeting somebody I wanted to meet. As an artist, my self respect comes from doing the work. One performance at a time, one gig at a time, one painting at a time. 2.5 years to make one 90-minute piece of film, 5 drafts of one play, 2 years working on a musical, throughout it all, daily. I show up at the morning pages and I write about my ugly curtains, my rotten haircut, my delight in the way the light hit the tree on the morning run. As an artist, I do not need to be rich, but I do need to be richly supported. I cannot allow my emotional and intellectual life to stagnate, or the work will show it. My life will show it. My temperature will show it. If I don't create, I get crabby. As an artist, I can literally die from boredom. I kill myself when I fail to nurture my artist child because I am acting like somebody else's idea of an adult. The more I nurture my artist child, the more adult I am able to appear. Spoiling my artist means it will let me type a business letter. Ignoring my artist means a grinding depression. There is a connection between self-nurturing and self-respect. If I allow myself to be bullied and cowed by other people's urges for me to be more normal or more nice, I sell myself out. They may like me better, feel more comfortable with my more conventional appearance or behavior, but I will hate myself. Hating myself, I may lash out at others and myself. If I sabotage my artist, I can well expect an eating binge, a sex binge, a temper binge. Check the relationship between these behaviors for yourself. When we are not creating, artists are not always very normal or very nice to ourselves or to others. Creativity is oxygen for our souls. Cutting off our creativity makes us savage. We react like we are being choked. There is a real rage that surfaces when we are interfered with on a level that invokes picking lint off of us and fixing us up. When well meaning parents and friends push marriage or 9 to 5 or anything on us that doesn't evolve in a way that allows for our art to continue, we will react as if we are fighting for our lives. We are. To be an artist is to recognize the particular, to appreciate the particular, to allow a sense of play in your relationship to accepted standards. To ask the question why. To be an artist is to risk admitting that much of what is money, property, and prestige strikes you as a little silly. The job of the artist is always to deepen the mystery, Francis Bacon. The function of the creative artist consists of making laws, not in following laws already made. Ferruccio Busoni. Art happens, no hovel is safe from it, no prince can depend on it. The vastest intelligence cannot bring it about. James Abbott McNeill Whistler. To be an artist is to acknowledge the astonishing. It is to allow the wrong piece in a room if we like it. It is to hang on to a weird coat that makes us happy. It is to not keep trying to be something that we aren't. If you are happier writing than not writing, painting than not painting, singing than not singing, acting than not acting, directing than not directing, for God's sakes, and I mean that literally, let yourself do it. To kill your dreams because they are irresponsible is to be irresponsible to yourself. Credibility lies with you and God, not with a vote of your friends and acquaintances. The Creator made us creative. Our creativity is our gift from God. Our use of it is our gift to God. Accepting this bargain is the beginning of true self-acceptance. What moves men of genius, or rather what inspires their work, is not new ideas, but their obsession with the idea that what has already been said is still not enough. Eugene Delacroix. No amount of skillful invention can replace the essential element of imagination. Edward Hopper. Success. Creativity is a spiritual practice. It is not something that can be perfected, finished, and set aside. It is my experience that we reach plateaus of creative attainment only to have a certain restlessness set in. Yes, we are successful. Yes, we have made it. But, in other words, just when we get there disappears. Dissatisfied with our accomplishments, however lofty, we are once again confronted with our creative self and its hungers. The questions we have just laid to rest now rear their heads again. What are we going to do now? This unfinished quality, this restless appetite for further exploration tests us. We are asked to expand in order that we not contract. Evading this commitment and evasion that tempts us all leads straight to stagnation, discontent, spiritual discomfort. Can't I rest, we wonder? In a word, the answer is no. As artists, we are spiritual sharks. The ruthless truth is that if we don't keep moving, we sink to the bottom and die. The choice is very simple. We can insist on resting on our laurels, or we can begin anew. The stringent requirement of a sustained creative life is the humility to start again, to begin anew. It is this willingness to once more be a beginner that distinguishes a creative career. A friend of mine, a master in his field, finds himself uncomfortably committed years in advance of his availability. He is in an enviable position on a business level, but he finds it increasingly perilous to his artistic health. When the wheel turns and the project committed to 3 years ago must be executed, can he do it with imagination and his initial enthusiasm? The honest answer is often an uncomfortable no. And so, at great financial cost, he has begun cutting back his future commitments, investing in the riskier, but more rewarding gain of artistic integrity. Not all of us, always, can muster such creative courage in the face of fiscal temptation, but we can try. We can at least be willing. As artists, we are travelers, too heavily encumbered by our worldly dignity, too invested in our stations and positions. We are unable to yield to our spiritual leadings. We insist on a straight and narrow when the artist way is a spiral path. Invested in the outer trappings of a career, we can place that investment above our inner guidance. Deciding to play by the numbers, we lose our commitment to counting ourselves and our own goals worthy. Creativity is not a business, although it may generate much business. An artist cannot replicate a prior success indefinitely. Those who attempt to work too long with formula, even their own formula, eventually leach themselves of their creative truths. Embedded as we often are in the business milieu of our art, it is tempting to guarantee what we cannot deliver. Good work that duplicates the good work that has gone before. Successful movies generate a business demand for sequels. Successful books generate a demand for further similar books. Painters pass through popular periods in their work and may be urged to linger there. For potters, composers, choreographers, the problem is the same. As artists, we are asked to repeat ourselves and expand on the market we have built. Sometimes this is possible for us. Oftentimes it's not. As a successful artist, the trick is to not mortgage the future too heavily. If the house in the Hamptons cost 2 years of creative misery cranking out a promised project just for cash, that house is an expensive luxury. This is not to say that editors should stop planning seasons, or that studios should scuttle their business bottom line. It is to say that the many creatives laboring in fiscal settings should remember to commit themselves not only to projects that smack of the sure thing, but also to those riskier projects that call to their creative souls. You don't need to overturn a successful career in order to find creative fulfillment. It is necessary to overturn each day's schedule slightly to allow for those small adjustments in daily trajectory that, over the long haul, alter the course and the satisfactions of our careers. This means writing your morning pages, taking your artist date, But I run a studio, you say, or whatever other thing it is you must do. People depend on me. I say, all the more reason to depend on yourself and protect your own creativity. If we ignore our inner commitment, the cost rapidly becomes apparent in the outer world. A certain lackluster tone, a rote inevitability, evicts creative excitement from our lives and eventually our finances. Attempting to ensure our finances by playing it safe, we lose our cutting edge. As the promised projects diverge further and further from our inner leanings, a certain deep artistic wariness sets in. We must summon our enthusiasm at gunpoint instead of reveling in each day's creative task. Artists can and do responsibly meet the demands of their business partnerships. What is more difficult and more critical is for us as artists to continue to meet the inner demand of our own artistic growth. In short, as success comes to us, we must be vigilant. Any success postulated on a permanent artistic plateau dooms us and it to failure. You are lost the instant you know what the result will be. Juan Chris. The Zen of Sports. Most blocked creatives are cerebral beings. We think of all the things we want to do but can't. Early in recovery, we next think of all the things we want to do but don't. In order to effect a real recovery, one that lasts, we need to move out of the head and into the body of the work. To do this, we must first of all move into the body again. Again, this is a matter that requires acceptance. Creativity requires action, and part of that action must be physical. It is one of the pitfalls of Westerners adopting Eastern meditation techniques to bliss out and render ourselves high but dysfunctional. We lose our grounding and with it our capacity to act in the world. In the pursuit of higher consciousness, we render ourselves unconscious in a new way. Exercise combats this spiritually induced dysfunction. Returning to the notion of ourselves as spiritual radio sets, we need enough energy to raise a strong signal. This is where walking comes in. What we are after here is a moving meditation. It means one where the act of motion puts us into the now and helps us to stop spinning. 20 minutes a day is sufficient. The object is to stretch your mind more than your body. So there doesn't need to be an emphasis on fitness, although eventual fitness is a likely result.
The goal is to connect to a world outside of us, to lose the obsessive self-focus of self-exploration, and simply explore. One quickly notes that when the mind is focused on other, the self often comes into a far more accurate focus.
It is 6:30 a.m. when the great blue heron stirs from its resting place in the short grasses and rises above the river on huge rhythmic wings. The bird sees Jenny down below. Jenny, down below, sees the bird. The pumping of her legs carries her in an effortless, floating stride. Her spirit soars up to the heron and chirps, "Hello, good morning, lovely, isn't it?" At this time, in this place, they are kindred spirits. Both are wild and free and happy in their motion, in the movement of the winds, the clouds, the trees. It is 4:30 p.m. when Jenny's boss looms in the doorway to her office. The new account is being picky and wants still more changes in her copy. Can she handle that? Yes, Jenny says. She can because she is still soaring on the glad energy of her morning's run. That heron, the steely blue of its flashing silver as it made that great banking turn. Jenny would not call herself an athlete. She does not run in marathons. She does not run in cheery singles groups. Although her distances have gradually increased and her thighs have gradually decreased, she does not run for fitness. Jenny runs for her soul, not her body. It is the fitness of her spirit that sets the tone of her days, changes their timbre from strained to effortless. I run for perspective, says Jenny. When the client picks at her copy, Jenny detaches and soars above her frustration like the great blue heron. It is not that she doesn't care, it is that she has a new perspective, a bird's eye view, on the place of her tribulations in the universe. Eve Babbitts is a novelist and a swimmer, tall, blonde, and as generously curved as the freeway clover leaf of her native Los Angeles. Babbitt swims in order to direct the traffic flow of her own overcrowded mind. Swimming, she says, is a wonderful sport for a writer. Every day as she swims the aquamarine oblong of her neighborhood pool, her mind dives deep into itself, past the weeds and clutter of its everyday concerns. What editor is late with a check? Why the typist persists in making so many errors? And down to a quiet green pool of inspiration. That rhythmic, repetitive action transfers the locus of the brain's energies from the logic to the artist hemisphere. It is there that inspiration bubbles up, untrammeled by the constraints of logic. Martha is a carpenter and a long-distance bicyclist. Carpentry challenges her daily to find innovative solutions to construction problems, to untangle the intricacies of a complicated design situation requiring a simple answer to a complicated question. How can I build in workspace without using floor space when I'm done working? Or is there some kind of cabinet that could fit in this corner and around on this wall without seeming too modern for my furniture? Pedaling from her home in the suburbs to her job in the city, Martha encounters her answers to these questions. In much the same way that a red-winged blackbird will suddenly take flight and cross her line of vision, Martha will be pedaling when louvered doors will flash as a design solution. Pumping her bicycle rhythmically and repetitively, Martha also pumps the well of her creativity. It is time to let my imagination roam and work out problems, Martha says. Solutions just come. Somehow, I am freed to associate, and things begin to fall into place. The things that begin to fall into place are not merely work associated. When she bicycles, Martha has a sense not only of her own motion, but also of the motion of God through the universe. She remembers riding alone on Route 22 in upstate New York. The sky was an azure bowl. The cornfields were green and gold. The ribbon of black asphalt that Martha Road seemed to her to head straight toward the heart of God. Silence, a blue sky, a black ribbon of highway, God, and the wind. When I ride, especially at dusk and at early morning, I feel God. I am able to meditate more in motion than sitting still. Being alone, having the freedom to go wherever I want, having the wind blow, riding alone in that wind allows me to center myself. I feel God so closely that my spirit sings. Exercise teaches the rewards of process. It teaches the sense of satisfaction over small tasks well done. Jenny, running, extends herself and learns to tap into an unexpected inner resource. Martha would call that power God, but whatever it answers to, exercise seems to call it forth in other circumstances when we mistrust our personal strength. Rather than scotch a creative project when it frustrates us, we learn to move through the difficulty. Life is a series of hurdles, says Libby, a painter whose sport is horseback riding. I used to see it as a series of obstacles or roadblocks. Now they are hurdles and challenges. How well am I taking them? In the daily schooling of her horse, teaching her to think before she jumps, to pace herself properly, Libby has learned the same skills for her own life. Part of this learned creative patience has to do with connecting to a sense of universal creativity. Riding, my rational mind switches off, she says. I am reduced to feeling, to being a participant. When you ride through a field of grass and little flecks of fluff from the wheat ears float around you, the feeling makes your heart sing. When a rooster tail of snow sparkles in the sun in your wake, that makes your heart sing. These moments of intense feeling have taught me to be aware of other moments in my life as they occur. When I feel that singing feeling with a man and know that I have also felt it in a field of grass and a field of snow, then I know that is really my own capacity to feel that I am celebrating. Here in this body are the sacred rivers. Here are the sun and moon as well as the pilgrimage places. I have not encountered another temple as blissful as my own body. Sarara. To keep the body in good health is a duty. Otherwise, we shall not be able to keep our mind strong and clear. Buddha. It is not only the sense of a communion with nature that creates a singing in the heart. An endorphin-induced natural high is one of the byproducts of exercise itself. A runner may feel the same celebratory sense of well-being pounding a dirty city street that Libby finds as she posts rhythmically along a country trail. God is in his heaven. All's right with the world is how Robert Browning characterized his feeling in his long narrative poem Pippa Passes. It is no coincidence that Pippa experienced this feeling as she was waking. Not everyone can afford to ride a horse or even a 10-speed bicycle. Many of us must rely on our feet for transportation and for recreation. Like Jenny, we can take up running, or we might make walking our sport. As an artist, walking offers the added benefit of sensory saturation. Things do not whiz by. We really see them. In a sense, insight follows from sight. We fill the well and later tap it more easily. Jerry is a confirmed city dweller. His country walks are limited to perusing window boxes and pocket gardens. Jerry has learned that in cities, people are the scenery. He has also learned to look up, not down, and to admire the frippery and friezes that often grace buildings that look quite, well, pedestrian at street level. As he roves the city canyons, Jerry has found a whole panoply of scenic attractions. There is the orange marmalade cat that sits in the window above the window box with pink and red geraniums. There is the copper church roof, gone murky green, that glistens silver in rainstorms. An ornately inlaid marble foyer can be glimpsed through the doors of one midtown office building. On another block, someone has sunk a lucky horseshoe in civic concrete. A miniature Statue of Liberty soars unexpectedly atop a dignified brick facade. Jerry feels at liberty himself, roaming the city streets on tireless feet. This courtyard, that cobbled walkway, Jerry gathers urban visual delights the same way his primordial ancestors gathered this nut, that berry. They gathered food. He gathers food for thought. Exercise, much maligned as mindless activity among certain intellectuals, turns out to be thought-provoking instead. As we said before, we learn by going where we have to go. Exercise is often the going that moves us from stagnation to inspiration, from problem to solution, from self-pity to self-respect. We do learn by going. We learn we are stronger than we thought. We learn to look at things with a new perspective. We learn to solve our problems by tapping our own inner resources and listening for inspiration, not only from others, but from ourselves. Seemingly without effort, our answers come while we swim or stride or run or ride. By definition, this is one of the fruits of exercise. Exercise, the act of bringing into play or realizing in action. Webster's 9. God bless the roots. Body and soul are one. Theodore Roth. Building your artist altar. Morning pages are meditation, a practice that brings you to your creativity and your creator God. In order to stay easily and happily creative, we need to stay spiritually centered. This is easier to do if we allow ourselves centering rituals. It is important that we devise these ourselves from the elements that feel holy and happy to us. Many blocked creatives grew up in punitively religious homes. For us to stay happily and easily creative, we need to heal from this, becoming spiritually centered through creative rituals of our own. A spiritual room or even a spiritual corner is an excellent way to do this. This haven can be a corner of a room, a nook under the stairs, even a window ledge. It is a reminder and an acknowledgement of the fact that our Creator unfolds our creativity. Fill it with things that make you happy. Remember that your artist is fed by images. We need to unlearn our old notion that spirituality and sensuality don't mix. An artist's altar should be a sensory experience. We are meant to celebrate the good things of this earth. Pretty leaves, rocks, candles, sea treasures, all of these remind us of our Creator. Small rituals, self devised, are good for the soul. Burning incense while reading affirmations or writing them, lighting a candle, dancing to drum music, holding a smooth rock, and listening to Gregorian chant. All of these tactile physical techniques reinforce spiritual growth. Remember, the artist child speaks the language of the soul. Music, dance, scent, shells. Your artist's altar to the Creator should be fun to look at, even silly. Remember how much little kids like gaudy stuff. Your artist is a little kid, so. Art does not reproduce the visible, rather, it makes it visible. The moon develops creativity as chemicals develop photographic images. Norma Jean Harris. Tasks. Tape your own voice reading the basic principles. The basic principles are creativity is the natural order of life. Life is energy, pure creative energy. There is an underlying, indwelling creative force infusing all of life, including ourselves. When we open ourselves to our creativity, we open ourselves to the Creator's creativity within us and our lives. We are ourselves creations, and we, in turn, are meant to continue creativity by being creative ourselves. Creativity is God's gift to us. Using our creativity is our gift back to God. The refusal to be creative is self-will and is counter to our true nature. When we open ourselves to exploring our creativity, we open ourselves to God, good, orderly direction. As we open our creative channel to the Creator, many gentle but powerful changes are to be expected. It is safe to open ourselves to a greater and greater creativity. Our creative dreams and yearnings come from a divine source. As we move toward our dreams, we move toward our divinity. Write out in longhand your artist's prayer from week 4 and place it in your wallet. Buy yourself a special creativity notebook. Number pages 1 through 7. Give 1 page each to the following categories: health, possessions, leisure, relationships, creativity, career, and spirituality. With no thought as to practicality, list 10 wishes in each area. All right, it's a lot. Let yourself dream a little here. Working with the honest changes section in week 4, inventory for yourself the ways you have changed since beginning your recovery. List 5 ways you will change as you continue. List 5 ways you plan to nurture yourself in the next 6 months. Courses you will take, supplies you will allow yourself, artist dates and vacations just for you. Take out a piece of paper and plan 1 week's nurturing for yourself. This means 1 concrete, loving action every single day for 1 week. Please binge. Write and mail an encouraging letter to your inner artist. This sounds silly and feels very, very good to receive. Remember that your artist is a child and loves praise and encouragement and festive plans. Once more, re-examine your God concept. Does your belief system limit or support your creative expansion? Are you open-minded about altering your concept of God? List 10 examples of personal synchronicity that support the possibility of a nurturing creative force. Art does not reproduce the visible. Rather, it makes it visible. The moon develops creativity as chemicals develop photographic images. Norma Jean Harris. The check-in that we'll finish the chapter with. How many days this week did you do your morning pages? How was the experience for you? Have you recommended morning pages to anyone else, and why? And then, did you do your artist date this week? Have you considered scheduling an entire artist day? Woo! What did you do? How did it feel? And did you experience any synchronicity this week? What was it? Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? And describe them.